My name is Sister Lorane Coffin. I'm a member of St. Martin Monastery. I've been a member since I entered the community in 1949. It's a long time ago, so virtually my whole adult life, even part of my teenage life, has been spent in the monastery. So I guess I am pretty well imbued with the concept of Benedictine hospitality. His belief that everyone is a child of God, that God made everyone, and that we are all equal in God's sight. So he, in fact, believed in God's presence everywhere. He saw God in nature. He saw God in not necessarily seeing God, but he felt there was an importance to be reverent about every part of creation, including handmade, man-made things. For example, one of the things that we like to bring up is that he said, even the tools of the monastery ought to be treated with the reverence we give to the sacred vessels of the altar. So whether you're using a hoe or a rake or a fancy video machine or whatever, it's all to be treated with a certain reverence because it's part of our extended creation. And creation continues to go on, so new people are born, and it's a constant thing. Benedict specifically says the sick in the monastery are to be treated as Christ. The superior of the monastery is to be seen as representing Christ. The guests are to be received as Christ. He says when guests come to the monastery, they are to be greeted warmly. In those days, of course, you didn't invite them in and give them a cup of coffee like we would do. You washed their feet. They were going barefoot or in shoes that allowed a lot of dirt to come in. So the first thing he did says the abbot and the monks will wash the feet of the guests. And they have a prayer while they're saying it, while they're doing it. And the prayer is, we, the community, has received the mercy of God. We have received the mercy of God, not the guest. Well, the guest too. But the point is that when we receive a guest, when we receive anyone, we are the ones that are also blessed. I think that's a beautiful, beautiful notion. So Benedict, of course, lived in an era when the northern European tribes and the ones coming from Eastern Europe were filtering down into Italy, and in a sense, it was a time like ours. Just as we have immigrants coming from the Middle East and we have immigrants coming from the South, they had these people who were coming in, and they were, for the most part, uneducated, very rough characters, not necessarily bad, but totally different, spoke different language, had different customs, etc. And those are the kind of guests that Benedict was receiving into the monastery. We can take an example from that it isn't just the nice people, not just the good-looking ones and the clean ones and the intelligent, educated ones, but everyone. And that's hard. That is hard because we tend to be attracted to the attractive people, and we tend to shy away from others. For 17 years I worked out in Montana with two other sisters, and we tried to be really open to guests or people that came to town, and our parish was also very welcoming. And usually if some transient person came into town and came to the rectory, Father would get them a room down in a local motel. Well, on this particular evening, Father was gone, and actually there were a few women who were meeting at the church to pray the rosary, and they called us, and they said, "Sister, there's a man here. We don't know what to do. He needs a place to stay." And I wanted to say, you all have husbands. Want to take him to your house? No. We said, bring him out. I don't remember if they brought him out or we went to get him. Anyway, so he came. Poor little, well, not particularly old, but he was all kind of tattered, and he had a wound in his leg. He was a diabetic, and he was in kind of bad shape. Well, we happened to have 2 RNs in the house, 2 nurses among the sisters. So we took him in. We got him something to eat. We had a little bit, we did not run a clothing store or anything like that, but we had a box with clothes in it that sometimes we could give to people that needed them. So Sister Bernice pulled out some pants and shirt and socks and got him cleaned up, gave it and dressed his wound, which is, kind of, for a diabetic, that's pretty serious, and gave him a bed for the night. And next morning we took him on his way. We took him over to the truck stop where he thought he could get a ride to going wherever he was going to go. If you're going to do that, you've got to be open to it. You can't be so fearful that you're going to, have a gun under your pillow or something. It's just a matter of treating them like normal people. Another time, we had an instance of a man here in town, came through town. He was on his way somewhere, and it was November, and it was cold, and he had a little jean jacket and no socks in his shoes, and it was cold, and he needed help, and he was dirty. We found a pair of pajamas that would fit him, even though they were ladies' pajamas, no doubt, but they were big enough for this little man. And again, Sister Bernice was there too, and she said, "Okay, you get your bath and you throw your dirty clothes out of your room." So she got them all washed for him, and got him cleaned up and fed him, of course. And the next day he came with a piece of paper, notebook paper he found someplace, and he said, "This is for you." And he said, and it was, "If I had $1 million," he had written it out like a check. He said, it was $1 million. He said, "If I had this is what I would give you." You don't know whether you're going to get thanks or whether you're going to or not. But that's I think the essence of hospitality for us is simply to be there. It's also to take care of the people in our own house, and the normal people that we meet every day. You don't necessarily have to find these strange strangers. Sometimes it means simply when I don't feel like reaching out to a visitor. Now, granted, in the monastery, not everybody is expected to rush out and greet every visitor. There are people that more or less have that responsibility. But if they come for a meal and they're in the dining room, are we going to avoid them? If we meet them in the hall, are we going to say hi? Etc. There's always a way that you can give a smile and whatever. In a parish, this is so, I think, so evident. Like you have a coffee hour after Mass, and it's the normal thing to congregate with our friends, sit with our friends. I haven't seen Joe and Mary for a whole week, so I got to go visit with them. Or am I going to reach out to the people who I don't know and you find out interesting, wonderful things, and you gain friends that way. But it is a matter of taking a risk. So I make a point, and I don't do it perfectly, I know, but I make a point of visiting our elderly sisters, taking time with them. We were talking about that soon. We got one of our 99-year-olds who still wants to come to our main dining room and not eat with the healthcare sisters. So that means help her to her place, find out what she wants to eat, dish up her plate, be sure you ask her whether she wants tea or coffee or hot water, etc., etc., and what's for dessert, and etc. It's a pain sometimes. You just as soon sit down and get your own food. This is, I think, where family life, and mothers and fathers do this all the time. I mean, I can't hold a candle to what parents go through in raising children and being there from the time they're born until they're even sometimes way into adulthood. They're still needy. Yeah. Taking time to listen, really important.